We are getting nice and cozy today because in today's video, I want to do a deep dive on all of the differences between dancing full-time in a ballet company as a professional ballet dancer and going back to ballet and taking adult open classes as a ballet dancer or as a normal person, or as a ballet dancer trying to be a normal person in ballet class, I guess. You might not realize how many differences there are because at the end of the day, it's the same class, you're doing the same thing, you're in a ballet studio, all of those variables are the same, but all of the unspoken variables and logistics of them are totally different. And I thought it would be fun to kind of like break it down and do some pros and cons, things that I love, things that I don't really love, kind of do a podcast style because that's kind of what my channel has turned into. I sit in my little spot, I put my camera on my water bottle. Why would I use a tripod when I have a water bottle? Duh. And I kind of word vomit. So that's what we're gonna do today. And I apologize if you hear noise in the background. It is currently storming in Boston. It has not stopped raining from 8 a.m. to now, all day long. But we're working through it. If you have been following me along on my channel, or you've been subscribed for a while, or you follow my Instagram, you know that I recently went back to ballet class after taking 4 years away from ballet, like completely. It has been so much fun. I've been documenting the whole thing. I've made a few videos talking about what to wear to adult ballet class, how I'm feeling, life after ballet, all of my recent videos. If you haven't seen them, go watch them and then come back to this one because it'll make more sense. I really went from 0 to a trillion, like I always do. We've talked about it before on my channel. I'm not really good on consistency or like moderation. It's like all or nothing. I'm in the all moment of my life where I haven't danced in 4 years and now I've danced every week the month of March, which is great because now we have so much to talk about. But while I was sitting down to do this video, I actually wrote down all of the major differences between company class in a ballet company and adult ballet class as a normal person. The first thing that I wrote down, it's kind of sad that this was the first thing that I wrote down because it should be a no-brainer, but the major difference that I find or that I feel in an adult ballet class compared to a company class is that every single person in that adult ballet class wants to be there. Crazy, right? But if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. When you are in an adult ballet class or an open class, every single person in that room has paid their money, has gone out of their normal schedule, their 9 to 5 or whatever routine they are currently in to make it to that open class. There's something really, really special about that, and it brings a very different energy into the room compared to when you're in a ballet company, class is expected and it is your 9 to 5. There's so much that we can talk about just in this first one, but when you are in a ballet company, hopefully everyone wants to be there, but like any job, the day in and day out kind of gets a little, I don't know, lackluster, if you will. And not only just the day in and day out grind, there are so many things that come into play when going into company class every single morning. So let's talk about the big ones. The typical schedule is ballet class in the morning for an hour and a half or an hour and 15 or an hour and 45, whatever way your company does it. You probably have a 15-minute break before you have a 6-hour rehearsal day. Now, not every day has 6 hours of rehearsal, but for the most part, you are in those point shoes and you are working all day long after that company class, which kind of can affect the way that you take that class in the morning. Also, not to mention, when you are taking that class in the morning, it's usually after a day of rehearsal that you had the day before. You could be sore, you could be tired, it could be too early for you, it could just be, there are so many things that it could be to make that class not feel that amazing. It could be that your ballet mistress is annoying. It could be that the artistic director is watching. It could be that someone took your bar spot and you want to just like die and go back to bed. There are so many things that come into play when talking about company class. When you are in an adult ballet class, you don't have any of those issues. And I've talked about this in a previous video. Because you're paying your money and because you're going out of your normal routine to make it to ballet class, you are just happy to be there. It kind of feels like an escape from the norm. That is something that I've really loved when I am in class now because as a ballet dancer who grew up every single day having ballet class be the requirement of the day, I am the type of person, and hopefully someone out there that's watching this video can relate to this. As soon as someone makes me do something or makes it a requirement or whatever, all of a sudden my brain goes, oh, I actually don't want to do this anymore because you're telling me to. Even if I wanted to do it in the first place. Like, I use this example all the time. Like, if I was planning to clean my room and I was almost in the process of doing it, and then my mom came in and asked me to clean my room, I will drop what I'm doing and be like, oh, no, because you asked me, I'm done. I know that's toxic, and I know that is a terrible thing, and I'm constantly working on it, but that's kind of how I viewed ballet for the longest time. Oh, you're forcing me to do this, and I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't do it? Not interested. So that's a little look into my issues as a person. But now as an adult ballet class taker, now as a normal person taking ballet class, I am choosing to be there. I am choosing to do the exercises. I am choosing to go out of my way, and I'm paying my money, which brings it up a notch. So that is a really, really, really strong first little bullet point that I wrote down on my list. I could probably make a whole video on just that first one. And I know I always say that, but man, there's so many like nooks and crannies when it comes to ballet that I could just talk about forever. Number 2 on my list is kind of just as interesting, and I can probably go a million ways with this one as well. But number 2 is when you are in an adult ballet class compared to company class, the camaraderie and the support is very different. And with that said, I'm not saying that there is zero camaraderie and zero support in a company class, but it's just a little bit different. When you are in an adult ballet class, there's zero pressure. There is no role that you are fighting over. There is nothing to gain other than just pure enjoyment. I mean, unless you're training for something and you're taking this class to, I don't even know. But for the most part, adult ballet classes are very innocent, kind of. I guess that's a good way to say it. Company class is not so innocent. When you're in company class, what is that famous Abby Miller line? Not everyone's replaceable, but like every day is an audition. I don't even know if that's Abby. Maybe that's just like the mentality in the dance world that every day is a test. Every day you're in the studio, you should dance like you're auditioning, which is crazy to think about, but it's kind of true. Before I get sidetracked, when you are in an adult ballet class, there's like support there because no one is trying to be better than anyone else in the room. And if they are trying to be better than anyone else in the room, they're not the vibe, and I try to like stay clear of those types of people. It's kind of like a really great feeling. The first time I went back to ballet class a few weeks ago, someone came up to me out of the blue and complimented my port-de-bras, which then translated into me complimenting her pirouettes, and then that translated into other people supporting each other. It's just like not that deep in open class. I've talked about this before too. Man, I really just repeat myself on my channel, but if only we could bring that innocence into company class, we would all dance so much better if there wasn't that pressure. But like anything, having a little pressure isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world all the time. Like I said, there is incredible camaraderie in a company class. There's incredible support, and I don't want to say for a second that there is zero support and we all hate each other and we're all competing against each other. I was always trying to cheer on my friends. I was always trying to support people in class, and being a part of a company is kind of like being a part of a family, and it's very intimate. You're in that class with the same people every single day, and for the most part, honestly, it was supportive and it was kind of like that family vibe. But at the end of the day, we were all still trying to get that one contract or that one role. That made it a little tricky. It just felt like the stakes were higher and it wasn't so like hunky-dory all the time. I guess realistically it was okay because I couldn't always be that, or else we wouldn't work that hard. Anyways, I'm going off on a random tangent. Let's move on to number 3 on the list. Number 3 is my favorite. Number 3, the biggest difference between open class and company class is I get to wear whatever I want. And with that said, there are some companies out there that you can do that too. You can wear whatever you want for company class because you are a professional dancer. Maybe it was just the situation that I was in at that specific company, but sometimes they treated us just like they treated the school. And that was frustrating. I'll just leave it there. That's a nice way to put it. I've also been in situations where the director did trust us and didn't mind what we wore, what we didn't, or we could wear our warm-ups, or we can wear socks, or we can do whatever we wanted. But for some reason, that director that I was working with treated us just like they treated the school dancers. And I can't decide if it was so much that they were saying it out loud, or it was more of like an unspoken thing that if you did X, Y, and Z, then you would be punished later, which is a very real thing, as insane as that sounds. Let me give you an example. If one dancer decided that they didn't want to wear their ballet shoes for the week, and they were wearing socks for ballet, or just for bar, before they put their pointe shoes on in the center, there wouldn't be anything said, perhaps. But then if casting went up, or the rehearsal schedule went up, and your name wasn't on the list, you could probably put 2 and 2 together, which is just like the most insane thing on the face of the planet. In my brain, once you become a professional, there should be a level of trust there that we are all trying to dance our best and work hard and whatever, that if wearing socks for bar makes me feel good and confident and dance my best, that would be the end of the conversation. And for some reason, there was just such an unspoken thing going on that didn't allow that energy. But going back to adult class, none of that is there. You get to do whatever you want. No one is questioning you. You can wear shorts, you can wear t-shirts, you can wear a bikini. That might be weird, but you know what I mean. You really get to do whatever you want and wear whatever you want, and that's really fun. So that's number 3. We are going speed round. I didn't plan this because I'm not a good planner, but number 4 on the list is actually the perfect segue from the last one. Is that a segue? I think it is. The next thing that I wrote down on my list was the unspoken rules and politics that are not present in adult ballet class. Wow, how interesting that I wrote that down. When you are in an adult ballet class, the teacher at the front of the room has a very different role than the director does at the front of the room during company class. And I just want to say, there is no positive or negative. Both are awesome. Both are great. I've experienced both. I was in a company, and there are so many amazing things that happen when you're in a company and during company class. And there are also so many things that happen in an adult ballet class. So I just want to make sure that I'm not shitty on company life compared to adult class life, because there are some beautiful things. But going back to my point, when you are in an open class, the teacher's role is to give you a nice class and almost let you do your thing. It's not really the time to fine-tune your technique. It's not really the time to get called out for doing X, Y, and Z. It's more of like a, I guess, selfish way of taking class. You're doing it for yourself. So if something doesn't feel that good on one leg, you can modify it. If you want to do a different combination, you can kind of like pick what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Whereas a director, you are working. You are making sure that your technique is up to the level that it should be. You might be working on different steps that might be in ballets that you're rehearsing later on in the day. Ballet class in a company is like you are working. That is where you have to figure out what's working in your technique, what's not working in your technique, if you need to break in shoes, if you need to work on your pirouettes or your extension or your développé. It's almost like daily maintenance for your dancing. There were some days where the ballet master or ballet mistress or director kind of let you take class for you, and there were other days that it was that feeling of, oh, this is an audition right now. Whether that may have been during the time when contracts were about to come out, or a ballet was about to be set, or a choreographer was coming in to watch you in ballet class to then cast you for the ballet that they were doing later. Again, there's a lot of things that come into play in a company class that people might not realize. The politics and how you take class is a huge part of the difference between open and company life. And I actually didn't write this down on my list, but it was actually one that I wanted to talk about, and it's kind of more of a negative towards adult class compared to company class. Look at me, finally saying something positive about being in a company. So the major thing that sticks out to me now being in class for 4 weeks at this point, my whole life, I'm just gonna remind you, I have been in ballet class at a pre-professional level to professional level and as a professional dancer at that level. How many times did I just say the same thing in a different way? When you are in a professional company class, we are constantly trying to get better and push our technique and push our dancing and really like soak up everything that there is to soak up within each class, to the point where I would find myself doing combinations 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, just to fix some things that I didn't do the last time, get my stamina up, work on my consistency with my dancing. And that culture inside of a ballet class when you're in a company is very different than adult ballet class. There's a few reasons why that is, but a big reason why is the time. When you're in an adult class, you have an hour and a half, and then the teacher is going home and we are all leaving, and that is kind of done. When you're in a company class, we're kind of just hanging for the rest of the day. So not that we would ever go over in time, but there was a little bit of leeway. I was very lucky to dance with a pianist every morning in company class. It wasn't like the teacher had to press start and stop within each combination. So more often than not, the pianist would just play and play and play, and if there were dancers going and doing the combination, they would just play until there were no dancers dancing anymore, which that is one thing that I do miss, because that is not what happens in an adult ballet class. Once I do my pirouette combination, I run back around and I go again. Then I run back around and then I go again. I would usually do 1 pirouette combination 4 or 5 times before moving on to the next side, which sitting here now thinking about it feels kind of crazy, but it was really fun because by the 4th time, I was kind of in a groove. Maybe the first time I went for singles, the second time I went for doubles, then I was just going for it. You know, there are certain things that you can be working on each time that you do a combination. So maybe the first time I played it safe and really focused on being clean. The next time I wanted to try to turn as many times. You get the point. In an adult class, it's almost like too polite, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Like, we are all so respectful of each other's space and our groups across the floor. Like, I don't want to cut the line to try to squeeze in another exercise, or I don't want to like mess with the groove of class. I don't even know if I'm explaining this right, but like usually in an adult class, you do a pirouette combination across the floor once or maybe twice if you're lucky, and then we kind of move on, which that is one thing. If I had to think about something that like I wasn't like so obsessed with, it would be that, because if I'm paying for that class and I'm trying to get everything out of it, I want to try to get everything out of it, which means I am pushing myself and going for things a little bit more than everybody else in the room, which is okay. And it's also a good lesson for me too. Like, why do I feel the need to do this pirouette combination 4 times? I don't know. Maybe I'm just like used to that mentality. There are so many other things that like are different in a positive way and a negative way between the two, but it's been so fun to kind of explore this new chapter of ballet. It really feels like I am achieving that innocence that I talked about in a couple videos ago. I'm having so much fun, and something that has felt really helpful to me as a retired ballet dancer in an adult ballet class is the energy that is there. I get to match that energy instead of bringing in my professional company class energy of like, we have to go balls to the wall in this class or else we didn't work hard enough and we didn't do X, Y, and Z. Like, that's not the vibe. The vibe is to like have a good time and dance, because at the end of the day, it is a dance class. That's how we should approach it always. And it's been really, really fun to actually achieve that for the first time in my 28 years as a person. And I know that I keep saying this over and over and over again, but I just feel like if we were able to do that in a company, like, man, it would be so much more fun but I know that there's so many politics that come into play. I know there are so many variables, moving parts, personalities, attitudes, injuries. We haven't even talked about injuries that come into play that make that feel impossible. And at the same time, now that I'm removed from that professional life, it really feels like it shouldn't be that complicated to achieve. Maybe one day I'll start a company and then it can be a positive environment. That's never gonna happen, but a girl can dream. But I'm not organized enough to run my own company, so it's never going to happen. But anyways, the few things that I wrote down on my list before sitting down to do this video are just the big differences that popped up into my brain when I was thinking about it. And again, like I just said, there's a million differences. There are so many amazing things about being in a company, and there are so many amazing things about dancing in an adult class, and I have loved both experiences. And it's actually really cool that I have experienced both, because the Goldie that is dancing now in adult ballet classes and open classes is definitely not the same Goldie that was definitely not the same Goldie that was dancing in a company. And not in a good way, not in a bad way. Just evolving and maturing and realizing who I am, and I think that's really beautiful. I'm really, really excited to continue. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was kind of like a podcast, like an informal sit-down podcast, which honestly, I kind of love those videos. I kind of just like put them on in the background, do my laundry, I make my dinner. So I hope that is something that you can do with this video today. And leave a comment down below if you are a ballet dancer experiencing any of the things that I experienced or that I talked about in today's video. Let's talk about it, because I'm so curious. I guess I'll see you later. I think it's time to get cozy on the couch, drink a glass of wine, and binge watch. What reality TV show am I gonna watch tonight? Something junky. That's my plan. But I will talk to you soon. And there is something really exciting coming that I haven't talked about on here yet. I've like hinted at it, but like not even in the slightest. There's something coming sooner than you think too. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm really, 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 really excited. And I'm really excited to share with you. I'm also really scared, but that's okay too. I'm leaving before I spill the beans. Talk to you soon. Bye.